Hello, I'm Jonathan from Boom Instructor Training, and today I'm chatting to Malc, and Malc's my dad. And anybody that's used the Part 3 video tutorials, either in the past or you're currently using them to prepare for your Part 3 test, you'll be very familiar with Malc, because on those video tutorials, Malc plays the role of the pupil, and he does it remarkably well. And even though he's slightly older than the average learner driver, you do play the role of the pupil very convincingly well. So what I'm going to do on this video is have a chat with Malc, and we're just going to reflect on his long career as an ADI. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. So what inspired you to become a driving instructor?
Well, it was at the time prior to this, I had had a couple of the types of jobs, but I was very ambitious, and therefore I had other jobs, part-time jobs also. And one of them was a poultry farm. And I had about 100 hens, and I used to sell these eggs to the general public.
What year was this, by the way?
This was 1967.
Okay, 1967, all right, okay.
Yes, 1967.
Yeah.
And one of my customers so happened to be a driving instructor.
So you were selling eggs to somebody who was a driving instructor?
Yes, indeed, which was a rare beast at that time.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And the small driving school that he worked for was looking to expand by one.
Okay.
And so consequently, he asked me if I would be interested in joining their team as a driving instructor, which I'd very little experience. I'd taught a couple of friends prior to that, but that was about it.
Okay.
Took me about 3 weeks to decide, because at that time I'd got quite a good job, quite well paid. I was earning, in actual fact, £50 a week.
£50 a week, wow.
And that was very good money.
Yeah, I suppose it was in 1960.
And to be a driving instructor, I was starting on £11 a week.
Okay.
But I could see a future in this occupation.
Okay.
So
you sold some eggs to a driving instructor.
Indeed.
He had a chat with you, convinced you to, become a driving instructor, basically, and that's what you did. And then you started with a local driving school called Portland Driving School.
Yes,
and how long did you stay with them for?
I was with them round about 3 years.
And then you went independent on your own then, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Am I right in remembering that when you first became a driving instructor, you didn't even have to be qualified?
Oh, no. There was no...
Can you believe that? There's no qualification.
None whatsoever.
Anybody could be a driving instructor.
Yes.
No you just needed a driving licence.
Yes, but about after a year that I started, then we had notification that eventually we would all have to take this particular examination and be what was known then as a qualified driving instructor. Yeah. Which at the time it was called the Ministry of Transport.
Yeah, okay. And was that similar to the Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3 tests that we have now?
Similar, but it was much, much stricter. They set the bar very, very high.
Okay. Well, it's not a walk in the park now, is it?
No,
I mean,
but
it's still quite tricky
it was
now,
far more difficult then. Everything was in longhand.
Okay. The theory test you had to write it?
Yes, everything. Yeah, it's correct. On the Part 1.
Okay, okay.
Yes, that's
all right then. Well, that sounds like an interesting backstory as to why you became a driving instructor in the first place. A little bit of history, actually. I'll put it up on the screen, but I've got this Ministry of Transport badge here, or certificate, I suppose badge you'd call it, wouldn't you?
That was one of the first ones.
Yeah, and this and the first stamp on it is 1969.
Yes.
So that's you. So for the first couple of years you didn't need to be qualified or whatever, and then I guess this is when you first became qualified.
Yes.
Then you have little.
But I didn't even have to be then, because then it was for volunteers.
Oh, it was a voluntary register.
It was a voluntary register.
And this goes up to 1983.
Yes.
This does. And then, but I've got some of your other ADI badges here, and I particularly like this one here, 11th of September 1986.
Yes.
Because you look like a gangster on the run, in my opinion. You've fled to Spain, because that's what you look like. You look like a 1980s gangster that's fled to Spain in that one.
Perhaps like to hold that up to the camera.
I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, it's a good one, that is. But yeah, I've got a few of your old ADI badges here. So yeah, that's cool. So you've been doing this a long, long time. Just think, when you first started working as a driving instructor, the Beatles were still together.
Yes, indeed.
Can you imagine that? Wow.
And we was charging £1 per lesson.
£1 per lesson?
Yes, but if you came to the office, the small office that we had, it was only 17 and sixpence, which in the decimal currency, which would be 75 pence.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thankfully, lesson prices have gone up a bit now.
Indeed.
Thankfully. And I remember you telling me once that the driving test cost £1 and a driving lesson cost £1.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So can you remember your first lesson that you gave as a driving instructor? And what was it like?
I can remember it like yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yes, I can indeed.
Okay.
Yes, and I was quite nervous, obviously, but at the same time, I realised halfway through that lesson that this was the profession for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love the job.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think the biggest challenges were when you first started out in the industry back in the late 1960s? Can you remember, or was it just you found it all quite easy and it all flowed well, or were there any challenges that you felt that you had to overcome?
It flowed quite well, actually.
Yeah.
Not a problem. There were so few driving instructors. So few driving instructors. In the area that I was in, there was 3 driving instructors in quite a large area. Yeah. Because when it come to the time that one had to be qualified, then a lot of driving instructors just give up.
Okay.
They didn't want to take the examination at all.
Yeah.
So therefore there were so few of us left.
Oh, that's good. So you had it on easy mode, because the competition was very limited then. Yeah?
And because of that, we was able to increase the prices quite rapidly, because it was a case of supply and demand.
Yeah. Okay.
And one always had a full book.
Yeah, well, you were always very busy, weren't you?
Yes, very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
7 days a week.
Yeah, I remember as a kid growing up, you was always busy.
Yes.
Always working, yeah. So, do you have a favourite success story of a student that you taught and that student overcame significant challenges and you helped them pass their test? Is there one particular student that stands out?
Well, I had many, really, because I did at one stage go to teaching disabilities.
Yeah.
People with very severe disabilities at a place called Portland Training College, where they actually specialised in all types of disabilities. And I used to go to this college and teach the disabled people there to drive.
Yeah.
Which there was people with missing limbs, almost paralysed from the neck upwards, and at that time there was the only disability car for them was a little blue 3-wheeler car, which was very unstable.
And was that supplied to them?
That was supplied to them, indeed it was, and there was only one seat in it.
Oh.
And they had a sliding door on one side. It was minute, much smaller than the old-fashioned Mini.
Okay.
It was really small. and we used to actually have the door open, and the only way we could actually teach them was to hang on for dear life, hanging out the door.
Hanging out the door?
Yes, indeed.
What, so you'd be, what, clinging onto the side of the car?
Clinging onto the side.
What?
With your backside almost touching the ground.
Really? What,
And,
out on the public roads?
No. It was within, that was within the compound of the Portland Training College.
Because it does have like a road system. It still exists today, Portland College,
yes,
and so it has like its own little road system,
that's
doesn't
correct.
it? Yeah.
And once they got a reasonable concept of what we was doing, then we would get them to actually follow us whilst I was driving my car. They would follow me and mimic me, and then I would follow them.
Wow, things have changed so much, haven't they? For
So
the better.
much.
For the better, absolutely.
But it was a real challenge.
So you're basically teaching people with disabilities and helping them achieve a full driving licence and the freedom that that brings. Yeah, that must have been very satisfying. That is not something that I've ever...
Very much so.
Yeah, well, good. That sounds amazing, yeah. And can you think of like a funny story? What's the funniest or most unusual thing that's happened during a lesson? Now, I just want to interject here, keep it clean, because my dad has got 1,000 different stories, believe me, about things that's kicked off on driving lessons, and the 1970s and 1980s were different times to today, so you know, keep it YouTube friendly, you know, that's all I'm saying.
But I can remember reasonably, she was in, I would say, middle 50s.
Right.
She was quite...
Hold it. Is this YouTube?
Yes, it is indeed.
Immediately, she was in...
It is indeed.
Okay, fine.
Yes, it is indeed. And she was quite a stout lady.
Right, we can't. And we can't go down this road. We can't. We're not having that story. I don't even know what the story is, but I'm stopping you there.
Okay.
Think of a different story.
Right.
A different story.
Well, I'll put it in another way then.
Okay.
I was teaching at the time a lady which would be in her mid-50s.
Okay. I'm dreading where this is going.
We was actually meeting approaching traffic.
Okay.
And she just literally panicked as there was a vehicle coming towards us.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know to this day how she managed it, but she leapt out of the driver's seat straight onto my lap.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Straight onto my lap.
What about the seatbelt?
There was no seatbelt then.
No seatbelt?
No, there was no seatbelt.
What? Oh, so this was before seatbelts
seatbelts.
Okay.
Yes, before seatbelts.
So she literally leapt out of the driver's seat.
There and straight onto my lap.
Okay.
And clung on to me for dear life.
Okay.
Fortunately, we had got dual controls, so I managed to stop the vehicle.
Right.
But it took me some time to get over that.
I can imagine it did. That's a crazy story. I think we can get away with that one on YouTube.
Yes.
I think that's good. Whew. All right then, good. What's like a particularly difficult student or difficult situation that you've had that stands out, and how did you handle that? Can you remember like anything?
That's quite a difficult one, because over the amount of years that I have actually been in this profession, of course there are many of these stories.
True.
Many of these stories.
We could make a whole different video just on that, couldn't we?
Yes, in actual fact. But I can remember one young man who he'd been terribly bullied all his life. He was only 17, terribly bullied all his life. And for the first 5 lessons, we had to have a chaperone in the back.
Okay.
Because he was so nervous and terrified of his own shadow.
Okay.
And who had got quite a miserable life. But I did manage to turn him around.
Oh, good.
And he passed his test first time,
Yeah, yeah,
which changed his life.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that's the kind of satisfaction that
Yes.
that any of us can get from this job. I'm sure that every ADI is going to have really satisfying moments.
It's
like
the
that.
very reason I've relished this job
Yeah.
all my career.
Yeah, because you are helping people achieve a really significant
Yes.
life goal, and it
Yes.
does change people's lives. But particularly the person that you was talking about, that would have been very significant. For
Absolutely.
that person. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is a very satisfying job,
Yes.
isn't it? It really is. Let's talk about, kind of generally speaking, what personal qualities do you think are essential to be a successful driving instructor?
You've got to like people. You've got to be a people's person.
That is true.
You've got to be very tolerant, very understanding, and you've also got to be a little bit of a chameleon.
What do you mean by that?
I mean by that is 1 day, 1 hour rather, you may have someone that works down the mine and the language, etc. is...
They were the days, Dad, when people worked down the mine.
Yes,
because
it was
this was an
indeed.
ex-mining community,
Yes.
so my dad would have trained
many,
lots of
many.
people from the mines. Yeah.
But the following hour, you may have a doctor
Yes.
that's actually, for some reason, that's actually come to this country and they're a doctor here and they haven't got a driving licence.
Yeah.
So you've really got to change your whole attitude and the language that you use, the terminology that you use, has all got to be changed. So you've got to be a bit of a chameleon,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
able to change very quickly.
So we're basically adapting our teaching style or adapting our approach to suit the individual pupil.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
that way will create success.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's excellent advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, then. So, how did you manage to stay motivated over such a long career? Because I think you was almost 50 years doing this. I think it was something like 47 years,
Yes,
maybe, before you retired. So
Yeah.
that's a long career. How did you stay motivated throughout that whole time?
Because I never stopped liking people.
Okay.
And I always found the job quite fascinating.
Yeah. 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 Because every day's different.
Every day you will meet different people
Yeah.
with different needs, different personalities. Every day is a challenge,
Yeah. No. Good
which
answer.
I love being challenged.
Yeah. So the job definitely isn't boring, is it?
No,
Yeah.
that could never be described as boring.
Yeah. That's
That
right.
is if you are a true professional instructor.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. How did you manage to balance work life and personal life? Because driving instructors do have to sometimes work evenings or sometimes work weekends, and of course you did bring up a family as well, myself and Jodie, that some of you will be familiar with from the videos, the part 3 video tutorials. Yeah, so how did you manage that work-life balance?
Because being a driving instructor can be very flexible.
Yeah.
You can actually, if you require time in the day, spare time in the day for school runs, etc., school events, then you work a little bit later at night.
Yeah.
You can finish up doing the same amount of hours, earning the same sort of money, but adjusting your working time.
Yeah, because I remember when I was a kid at school, if it was if we had sports day in the summer, or if it was a school Christmas play or something, you would always be there.
Always.
And a lot of parents couldn't be there because they was at work. But yeah, you'd always be there for kind of those events. Or I always remember anything important, you was definitely always there. So I guess you would have just, scheduled your work around.
Absolutely, and that's another plus for being a driving instructor.
Yeah, it is actually, isn't it? So it's very flexible, and you can, how do you describe that then? You can fit your life, you can fit your job around your life, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of describing it.
You can rotate the job around your life.
Yeah.
It's not rigid.
Yeah. Now, you managed to support a family on a single income from being a driving instructor because my mum never worked after having children, so she was just a stay-at-home mum and housewife, very traditional how it used to be back in the day, and you was the sole income provider, weren't
Indeed.
you? So now, I mean, the cost of living was definitely cheaper back in the day, relative to today. I mean, do you think is it possible for an ADI to support a family now, do you think, just on one single income? Or do you think, I think you had the good days, didn't you? Do you think that's even possible anymore?
I had the good days, yes. But I do believe the good days are still possible.
I think it's still good now. I mean, it's still very good now.
Yes.
In terms of the hourly rate and the amount of work available. So a driving instructor can definitely stay busy, and I think the average hourly rate of a driving instructor is around £40 per hour, maybe more in other areas of the country. But I just think because the cost of living, I think when you bought your first house, what did you pay for your first house?
I paid £3,250.
Wow, £3,250.
And it was a very nice house.
Yeah, it was like a nice 3-bedroom semi-detached house, a really nice house. And that would have probably been like 3 times your annual income probably to buy that.
Yes.
Whereas I think houses now are like 8 or 9 times the average income. So
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a thought that popped into my head. But yeah, I think that was nice back then because an ADI could support a family on a single wage. Where I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Is that possible? Are there any ADIs out there now that are supporting a family just on a single income? I don't know. I've no idea. Over the course of your career, then, how did driving instruction change, or did it just stay the same, or did the job of a driving instructor change throughout your career?
It's had a tremendous amount of change. The examination process, for starters, to be an ADI, that has changed dramatically.
That has changed, that's true, but it is what it is now, whether for better or worse.
Yes.
But how it is now is how it is. What about the actual job itself? Has that really changed much, or is it kind of, if you're out teaching pupils today, for example, would it be much different to when you first started in the late 1960s?
I think it would be very different. Okay. Very different.
What would the differences be?
First of all, the volume of traffic.
Yeah, that is a massive.
The volume of traffic is problematic. Maybe attitude of people now. That has changed.
In what way would you say?
Maybe less tolerant of direction.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because in your day, and actually when I first started in the late 1990s, you could just kind of say it as it is, couldn't you? You could just tell people.
Indeed.
You can, and I think it's the same with any kind of teaching profession. School teachers used to be in a classroom, used to be able to tell the students directly, didn't they? But yes, now we can't. You can't really, say that was rubbish, and you need to not that you would have used that terminology particularly, but yeah, you can't be quite, I know what you mean, you can't kind of say it bluntly as it is, can
There
you?
was more prepared and tolerant of being told what to do.
Yeah, yeah. Because you could just basically, you say, okay, let's talk about that. You know, that wasn't very good. You know, you made this mistake. This is why that mistake happened, and this is what you need to do to put it right. Let's go and practice it again. I'll kind of instruct you what to do, follow my instructions, and if that goes well, give it a go by yourself. It was a bit more to the point, wasn't it? Kind of direct and to the point.
To the point. Yes.
And people, I can't really remember any students getting upset when we was more direct and to the point, but now of course it's all about coaching and being client-centered. And you know, and I think that works very, very well now, and I think that is for me, you may disagree, but I think that is an improvement than just saying it, just telling the people what to do. I mean, do you think it's an improvement, or do you think it's...
Yes, of course it is, and it fits in with the time now.
Yeah.
It fits in now with the time.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started also that almost all driving examiners was ex-military and ex-police.
Mm-hmm.
There was very few civilians.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I was probably one of the first to be... when I got through the examination process to be a driving examiner. Examiner, that was.
Okay, yeah, because at one point my dad considered becoming a driving examiner and did pursue it and I think you got offered a position as an examiner, but you chose...
Several.
But you chose in the end not to, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
With a young family, and at that time of day, you could not examine anywhere near the area that you'd been an instructor.
So you would have had to have relocated.
I would have had to have relocated quite a long way away. And with a young family...
You just didn't want to, did you?
I didn't want to do that in the end.
Yeah.
That's correct. But I was told if I had have took a position, I would have been the youngest driving examiner in the country.
Okay. Well, I'm pleased that you didn't become a driving examiner, because I probably wouldn't have become a driving instructor in that case. And I've really enjoyed my career just the same as you have as well. So it's been obviously a pleasure for us to work together.
Absolutely.
Until you retired. But even after you retired, I then encouraged you out of retirement to help me make the video tutorials for Boom Instructor Training, which a lot of you will have watched. And
that's right.
You know, seen my dad being the pupil, you know. What advice would you give to somebody watching this who's considering becoming a driving instructor today?
Stick at it. Be determined. Lots of study. You cannot know too much. You need to have the knowledge.
You can't be complacent, can you?
You cannot be complacent. You are portraying yourself as an expert. So live up to that and make sure you are an expert.
And that comes with time and knowledge.
Absolutely.
Experience, extra training, like you say, you can never learn enough. Yeah.
And continual professional development.
Yeah, okay. Are there any specific skills that you think that new driving instructors or people considering becoming a driving instructor should develop early in their careers? What are the real important skills that a potential driving instructor or new driving instructor needs to have? What are those key skills?
I would say quick identification.
Of faults?
Of faults.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. Know the person that you are teaching. Because as we've already discussed, every person you teach is a different person which will have different needs.
So adapt to the pupil.
Need to identify those needs at a very early stage.
When you say the need, you mean the pupils' driving problems that they have? That
their ability to be
yeah.
able to drive a motor vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. And you said a quick identification of faults, so that relates today to risk management and being aware of the surroundings and being aware of your pupils' actions.
Absolutely.
And I'd agree with that, because that is one of the most important skills, isn't it? You know? So that is something that needs to be developed. It's called the awareness routine. So if you bought my Part 3 video tutorials, you will learn the awareness routine, and you will then be able to very quickly identify any driving problems or driving mistakes or driving faults that your pupils have. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah? The awareness routine. Okay then, if you could change one thing about this profession, what would you change?
I think I would probably change that people entering the profession, there's a little bit more scrutiny.
Oh, okay.
To get the right people into the profession.
Okay, and what would you mean by, because I mean, to be fair, you know, the entry requirements are you need a full driving license. You can't have any more than, I think it's 5 points or 6 points on your license, 5 or 6 points. And you need to have held your driving license for 3 years, I think. So that's it. So that's the only requirements to attempt the qualification process to become an ADI. So do you think that's not sufficient? You think this should be?
No, this is not just a job.
Okay.
This is a vocation.
All right then. So how else would you vet somebody? Because I mean, I think it's quite fair as it is, because whoever, it's open to anybody, this is, providing you've got a driving license, and you've held it for the appropriate amount of time and you don't have too many points on your license. Okay, so it's open to anybody. And who are we to say that person shouldn't become a driving instructor because they don't meet a certain requirement? I mean, you come from a factory.
I did.
You had no qualifications at all. You left school without any qualifications, but mainly because you was ill and you was in hospital as a child a lot, but that's a different story. So you left school with no qualifications, you worked in a factory, and then all you had was a driving license when you started. So, to be fair, and look how amazing you did as an idea.
Yes.
So
from a very early age, I was dreadfully interested in driving.
Okay.
And I was an absolute fanatic on motor cars.
Yeah.
By the time I was 17, I'd almost built my own car.
Yeah. Things are different now, though, aren't they? I mean, it's impossible to build your own car because it's so complicated now. And I've never actually been that interested in the mechanics of a car. I understand the very, very basics. So I don't think it's good that you, and I'm sure there's lots of other driving instructors that are very mechanically minded, but I'm certainly not mechanically minded at all. So I don't think that's particularly an issue. So just to wrap this brief bit of the conversation up, then how would you vet people differently to how it is now then?
It's very difficult.
So I'm challenging you on this.
Yes, you are challenging me.
I don't agree. I think it's fair and open as it is, and I like it as it is.
Yes, and it seems to be working well.
The thing is, the exams are there to vet people, aren't they?
Yes, they are indeed.
If anybody wants to give this a go, give it a go. Have good quality training. Boom Instructor Training can provide that for you, of course. And then it's down to the individual to pass the exams. The exams vet people. I don't think we need anything beyond that to assess people. So that's something I've challenged you on that one, haven't I?
Indeed. You have indeed.
What do you miss most about being a driving instructor?
Oh dear, right. Almost everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, isn't it? Because that means for you it was a fantastic job.
Yes, a wonderful profession.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it whilst you're doing it,
Yeah.
and look forward to every day.
Because it goes fast, doesn't it?
It goes so quickly.
Yeah, just imagine we was talking about with this Ministry of Transport driving instructor badge. You got issued this in 1969.
Yes.
Oh, look how quick that time's gone.
Gone.
To today.
And I can remember it like yesterday.
Yeah. So enjoy your
Indeed.
career whilst you have it.
Too right.
I think that's very good advice. So maybe we've just answered this final question here, but I'll ask it anyway. But if you could leave one piece of wisdom for all driving instructors or potential driving instructors, what would it be?
You are a professional. Conduct yourself as a professional, and you will succeed.
That's excellent advice. Thank you very much.